First of all, I welcome you all. Thank you very much for this participation. And today my topic of discussion will be the Citizens Portal. It's an app, actually. It's a mobile app which has been established in Pakistan. And nowadays it is considered that it has grown as a pivot of good governance in Pakistan. So this will be the sequence of presentation. Obviously, we'll be going through this mode. So I'll just take you little back into the background. And the background is that the area from where I come, which is like Pakistan, or if I more precisely call it an Indian subcontinent. So Indian subcontinent or the Indian civilization is called Indus Valley civilization. It is one of the oldest civilizations of the world. The people had a very refined lifestyle there, like 3,300 years even before Christ. And they had very good, they had planned cities, they had universities, they had arts, crafts, and pearls, jewels, etc. And the foundation of that Indus Valley civilization was a good agrarian culture, agrarian economy, and the food security. So these are some of the pictures of the old excavations which have now found in both India and Pakistan. You can see that these three oldest civilizations, and Indus Valley civilization stands tall amongst the other two. And you can see, the planned cities which were there in those old days. You can see that the streets and the sectors, etc. I have visited these areas, and one really gets spellbound to see how advanced those people were. And let me tell you that one of the modern cities of Pakistan, called Islamabad, which is the capital of Pakistan, has been planned on the Texela, which is like this. It has the same sectors and streets, but you can call it a magnified view of Texela. So this was the level of architecture and the engineering of those days. But then Indian subcontinent reached to its zenith point, reached to its glory during the Mughal era, when the society was very affluent, government was strong. No one could even dare see to attack India, because Indian history has always been filled with the foreign attackers. But during this Mughal times, we don't see any Mughal, any foreign attacker coming to India. And on the other hand, the government of India or the Indian subcontinent was so much self-contained, so self-sufficient, that it never even attempted to go out or to do any military expeditions outside. So you can see the might of these structures. You can see the outer might and as well as the inner delicacies of these buildings. So this means these inner delicacies tell that the people from all around the world used to come and to work here. So this was basically a little background. But then what happened, that the Indian subcontinent came under the British colonization, which started in 1757 and remained till 1947. And during this British colonization, you can see the results, what happened, that the India's share in the world economy dropped from 23% at the start of the 18th century to less than 3% in 1947, when Britishers were leaving the India. And all the local manufacturers got crushed because of the cheap imports of the British goods and all those things. So, and above all, there were 12 major famines in these 200 years, which killed around 60 million people. 60 million people. You can imagine the miseries of the people at that time. And these are the miseries of the people who were once the flag bearer of the most sophisticated lifestyle on the face of earth. So these are some of the glimpses, some of the pictures of the famines. These are the pictures taken in 1942, 1943, just like 5 or 6 years before the Britishers left India. And these are basically the pictures of the Bengal and the Punjab, with primarily the areas which now constitute Pakistan. I want to draw your attention on these first two pictures. In the first picture, you can see starving people, but these starving people are, ladies and gentlemen, not standing in a desert. They are standing in front of a very fancy building. So you can see that their fathers or their grandfathers built these fancy buildings, and they had to starve in front of that. And the second, it really, my heart bleeds when I see this picture. You can see the dead bodies. No one has the capacity or the courage to bury even these dead people, because these images were so common in those days. And you see the vultures having the party there. As well as, to add insult to injury, you can see an electricity pole. So this means that electricity was being given, but food was not available. So these are just 5 to 6 years before the creation of Pakistan. And then in 1947, the Pakistan was created. British when left India, there was a political movement. India was bifurcated into two countries. 80% India became the modern India, and like 20% or 15 to 20% became Pakistan. So Pakistan came into being in 1947. But let me tell you that this division was not a very good experience or a very cozy thing that they said, okay, we put a line and this line will be all okay. It was not like that. It was those are very terrifying times. 15 million people migrated from either this side to that side or that side to this side. And this migration or movement of 15 million people is still known to be the biggest mass movement in the history of humankind. It's mankind's biggest mass movement. And this movement was teamed with all types of brutalities on both sides. It was not like that people coming to one side were subject to brutalities and others were not. It was on the both sides. And people were killed, women were raped, and you imagine any kind of brutality under the sky, and those brutalities happened. And with this, in this background, Pakistan started its journey in 1947. The initial issues were obviously, the first and foremost issue of Pakistan was that there was a scarcity of well-established public offices. Since the center of power had always remained in Delhi, which became part of India, or all the major presidencies, the major princely states, or the major infrastructure which the Mughals, the Britishers, or even the previous ones had established, all became part of India. Pakistan basically comprised of the areas which were kind of not having those kind of sophisticated civil offices and these kind of facilities. And above all, on one side, there was no sophisticated public offices, public proper infrastructure, and on the other hand, there was a huge influx of the refugees, all in a very in shambles they were coming. There was a fragile economy, there was no industry as such, and there were boundary issues with all the neighbors because the Britishers had different kind of arrangements with different neighboring countries. Like they had different arrangement with Afghanistan, they had different arrangement with Iran, different arrangement with China, something. So all these boundary issues were there. So these are basically some of the pictures which tell the initial days of Pakistan. The last two pictures you can see the refugee camps. In the middle, you can see the people who are migrating to Pakistan. And there is a news clipping which tells that 6 lakh murders in 7 days. So these are the times of 1947 when India and Pakistan started their journey. However, since British colonized Indian subcontinent, so they had to have a proper bureaucracy or a structured civil service so that civil service may take their agenda along. So when Britishers left, although the economy was in shambles, although the other economic indicators or the social indicators were very bad, but one thing was that Pakistan and India inherited a very structured form of a civil service, a very competent, merit-based civil service. And this civil service, basically, since Pakistan, now I come to Pakistan. Pakistan is a federation having different provinces and a central government. Main subjects rest with the provinces. So this is the simplified structure of the provincial civil service, that at the top, the administrative head or the administrative boss is the provincial chief secretary. And then the provincial chief secretary has two arms. On one arm, there are departments which are headed by the secretaries, and those secretaries have again two components, one in their secretariat, their deputy secretaries, assistant secretaries, and the field officers as well. And on the other hand, this thing is a very novel idea which the Britishers established in the Indian subcontinent, and that was to put their representative as a coordinating head, as a representative of their government in different fields. So there were divisional commissioners, there were deputy commissioners in the districts. Districts are the administrative unit of Pakistan. So deputy commissioner is basically the chief executive officer, you can say, of a district. And then in the subdivisions, there are assistant commissioners. So with this civil service, So you see, Pakistan, if we talk about the political arena, Pakistan had many kind of experiments. We had parliamentary form of government, we had presidential form of government, we had military takeovers, we had different kind of technocratic governments, we had semi-military, semi-democratic kind of political arena in which there were some emergencies were imposed. Or we have in the recent past, we have seen extraordinary judicial activism. But the fact of the matter is that the stabilizing factor, the shock absorbing factor in Pakistan has always remained this civil service, this steel framework, I must say, upon which the administrative structure of Pakistan rests. And with this, this civil service remained custodian of steady development of Pakistan, and it maintained its political neutrality to much extent and meritocracy absolutely. So these are some of the achievements. Pakistan has one of the longest irrigation systems. We have achieved self-sufficiency in agriculture. Pakistan is a leading exporter of linen, rice, yarn, etc. Establishment of heavy industries. I'm not dilating upon these things. I'll be more focused on the second part of this slide, that in the early 2000s, there came a communication revolution in Pakistan. There was a boom of private TV channels. The internet access reached to around 95% of Pakistan, and and the cell phone industry grew. As you know, this is contemporary in our world. More than 95% population of Pakistan has cell phones. And an interesting fact is that 60% has more than one cell phone. So you can see people that whenever they open their eyes in the morning, their task is to to get the phone and see the Facebook or whatever they want to do. And when they go back to sleep, the last task is to see their phone, and then they go to sleep. So this is kind of a revolution which is there in Pakistan. And then there is a very vibrant social media. People come and people express their opinion and all those things. But with this communication revolution, the direct result of this communication revolution was the increased demand for good governance. So what happened then with the start of 21st century, there was an increased demand of good governance. Wherever people see any bad thing happening, now they have the camera in their mobile phone. They just take the picture, they make a small clip, and they upload on the YouTube, or they upload on Facebook or any other social media forum. So government became under immense pressure that how to manage this thing, because country was going to a mess, because there are many delicacies available, many intricacies are there to fix different issues of public administration, but general public does not know. They don't know about the economic, the financial restraints or whatever, or the administrative restraints. But they need an immediate and a quick fix of their problems. So with this, what happened, that different research institutions in Pakistan which conduct different kind of trainings, so they started doing some research on this, that how we can capitalize this communication revolution, and how we can take this thing along, and how we can use it in the good governance. So amongst the different recommendations, one recommendation was common in all the researches which were conducted, and that was that we need to engage citizens in public affairs. Until or unless we engage citizens in public affairs, it will be impossible to launch a program of good governance for a longer time. If one political party starts a very good program, once election happens, if the rival political party takes power, so they actually take that this is their initiative, so we need to do something else, we need to do change. This doesn't happen only in Pakistan or in developing countries, even in the developed countries, even anywhere in the world, we see these kind of things. So with this theme, all the federating units, all the provinces started working on different kind of themes to engage citizens. There was a kind of an atmosphere of a competition among different federating units. But I am now, in this presentation, I am focusing on the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the KP, since I was working in the KP. So I'll be talking about this Performance Management and Reform Unit Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and above all the Citizens Portal. So what happened, that the Chief Secretary of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, this is very important, that this initiative was not taken by the Chief Minister, although the Chief Executive of the province is the Chief Minister, but the administrative head is the Chief Secretary. So the Chief Secretary took took this initiative to initiate a citizen engagement model via a mobile app. So what happened, the benefit of this remained that all the political parties own it. I mean, this is an initiative owned by the bureaucracy of Pakistan, you can say. This is one of the success stories of the bureaucracies of the word, I can quote it like that. And it is apolitical. All political parties take interest in it. The whole civil service is very serious about it. And what Chief Secretary did, the Chief Secretary, first of all, made key performance indicators for all departments, set timelines for their performance, and then he started doing the quantitative review of performance. This was for the first time in the history of Pakistan that a quantitative review happened. Previously, there used to be a qualitative thing. For example, I'm in charge of the municipal services of a small subdivision. So I can say that, okay, I have lifted X tons of garbage from the streets of my subdivision, and there was no check on it. But for the first time, what happened? They made scientific calculations that this subdivision has a population of X number of people. X number of people produce Y number of garbage, and the municipality has a capacity to lift Z amount of garbage. So whether this municipality is lifting this Z amount of garbage or not, what is their efficacy in it? 95%, 100%, 60%. And what the other thing came on the surface was a well-knit mechanism of a complaints management via citizens portal. That is a citizens engagement thing. I'll dilate upon this point in the next slide. And finally, what happened, that the third facet was that he started a performance reviews on telephonic as well as the manual surveys. What happened, that there was a complete unit, the performance management and reform unit. They used to telephone people who used to issue complaints and these kind of things. They had their telephone numbers, and they used to ask, are you satisfied with the performance of the officer? You complained about this thing, whether it has been fixed or not, what is going on? So this kind of a direct interaction of the Chief Secretary, the topmost echelon of bureaucracy, with a common street man, and removing all kinds of barriers from in between. What happened, that it increased immense pressure on the street level bureaucrats, on the field officers to perform. Otherwise, their career progression was linked with this performance, and there was a grading of officers. After there used to be a monthly and a quarterly review. Monthly review used to be done, is being done by the head of the department, by the secretary, and the quarterly review is done by the Chief Secretary himself, in which the whole day is reserved and different departments come and they compete. There is a proper grading system which tell which officers is performing good, who is performing bad. And what happened as a result of it, all the political interference in the affairs of different kind of administrative affairs, it started declining, because even if an officer managed to get this political interference for managing a posting, the Chief Secretary used to show the results of that officer in the previous post that to the Chief Minister even, that, sir, you are saying that this guy should be posted there, look at his performance. He has simply not performed as this subdivision, so he does not deserve to be. So this was an empirical data available with the Chief Secretary, with the whole world, so that we could, make different kind of studies on that. So how this citizen portal works, we call it the app because we are basically very afraid of, I must say, this app, because citizens can just do that, and it makes our life very difficult. So what happens, that's a very simple thing. It's an app. You can download it. If you see anything wrong, you see there is a garbage there, no plowing has been done, there is an electric pole which is slanting, whatever you want, there is an encroachment on the street, there is an illegal speed breakers, or you see anything, you can just take a picture, you can make a small kind of a clip, you can even record your voice, and then you upload it. If you know which department is responsible for fixation of that problem, you can directly assign. And if you don't know, you need not to worry at all. You will just complain. There is a full-fledged mechanism, a complete unit is sitting in the Chief Secretary's office, which analyzes the complaint, marks it, assigns it to the concerned department or the concerned officer, and looks their response for 22 days. If within 22 days that complaint is not resolved, this complaint, for example, an officer sleeps over it. This is generally happens in the developing countries, that if an officer receives a complaint, they just sleep, okay, we'll look into it later on. But if within 22 days an officer does not respond, what will happen? This complaint will be escalated to the higher echelon, to the higher level, the supervisory officer's dashboard. So it will start flashing on the dashboard as an escalated complaint. And if after 42 days of the complaint, I mean the supervisory officer has 20 days. If after 20 days supervisory officer even does not take any action, 42 days have been elapsed. So this complaint will be super escalated to the office of the chief secretary, and these super escalated complaints are taken very seriously, very negatively on the part of the performance of the officers of different departments. Chief secretaries do not spare those officers from whom super escalated complaints are coming. And with this performance review unit, it is conducting all kinds of surveys. It is making telephones to the people. People can grade. For example, you nowadays make a WhatsApp call. Once the call finishes, it tells that kindly grade it, like 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars. So like this, the citizens also, once an officer says that I have resolved this complaint, the citizen tells that I am satisfied. 5 number, 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5. So the proper control or the power of all this mechanism lies in the hands of street people, of common people, of citizens of Pakistan. So it creates a different kind of, it was a sea change in the administrative system of Pakistan. We, the bureaucrats, the civil servants, before 2013-14, we were not, frankly speaking, we were not accustomed to these kind of things, these kind of external accountability, such an external accountability which is quantifiable, which can be, shown to you at any review stage, at any, where all the officers are sitting, and immediately a dashboard appears, it shows your performance, and in front of your peers, you are just embarrassed at what the hell I have done that. Oh my God, I should have taken much interest in it. And the people, the officers who does not take interest in it, they are first issued show cause notices, and then they are removed from their post, they are transferred to some other department, something like that. And then there is a satisfaction scoring. People generally have a power to comment on their administrators. For example, I am administrator of a district. So generally people can pick up and they say that we are satisfied with his performance. If they say we are satisfied, they'll have to put reasons. If they say we are dissatisfied, they'll have to again put the reasons for that. So this is basically the working of the app. Now I'll come to the success story. This app got second position in the World Government Summit 2019, which was held in Dubai. Around 77 countries were competing with different kind of initiatives of public administration, and this app stood second in that competition. Now we do some quantitative analysis and the qualitative analysis of of the working of this app. I don't want to bog down into too much statistics, but just the big kind of statistics, that the total number of registered users are more than 1.1 million. More than 1.1 million people have downloaded this app, and they are working, using it very frequently. And then there are some breakups like province-wise or some other. And if you see the complaints, so you can see that 92% complaints, we are actually seeing the complaints and the resolved ones. So the federal government officers resolved 92%, Punjab government like 88% if we go to the total. So 86% is on average a complaints redressal rate. In a country like Pakistan, 86% is a big achievement. Believe you me, it is a big achievement if you see that 86% complaints which the citizens lodged have been resolved. And now all the policy framework actually revolves around these complaints. I'll show you in the later part of this presentation. But if you see the citizen feedback, so the total is 43%. So on one side, government says that we have resolved 86% complaints. Citizens say that 43% citizens are satisfied, rest are not. So there is a gap in between. Now this gap can be, every complaint has a different kind of dynamics. The gap can be that there are financial constraints or some administrative constraints. For example, there is a complaint that electricity shutdown happens a lot in my village. For example, this is a complaint. Now this electricity, Pakistan is a country which is short of electricity, so we can't do anything. So the officer says that I have called this gentleman, or I have given the reply, I have done all the things from my side, this is resolved. But the consumer is not satisfied, so he puts the button unsatisfied. So these kind of things happen when there is a gap between citizens' satisfaction and the review and the officer's performance. But the Chief Secretary's office does these kind of reviews. They see wherever there is a difference of reporting by the officer that we have done that, but reporting by the citizen that we are not satisfied. So they look into the complaint and all the process, whether that complaint has been handled properly or not. This is the machinery at work. The total dashboards are around 8,000, and out of which 89% are active. The others are in the process of activation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have proper statistical data where what problem lies. For example, if we see the major issue of different areas of Pakistan, the top one is the municipal services. People more complain about the municipal services like lifting of garbage, repair of streets, street lights, etc. Because for a street man, government means the municipal service. First of all, if they are getting water, clean water, if their garbage is being lifted, if they see the plowing is going on, traffic signals are working, street lights are working. So general impression is that government is working. And if these kind of things do not happen, so the problem happens. So this is basically some statistics which tell that 22% out of the total, 22% complaints were on the municipal services, 18% were about the energy and power, education at 11%, health at 6%. So, this is just to tell you about the stats. And if we analyze the data from the province-wise, so we can see that different kind of provinces have different kind of problems. So if the Prime Minister sees, because now this initiative has been taken up by the Prime Minister office, so if the Prime Minister wants to analyze the problems of a province, so they exactly know when the Chief Minister comes to the Prime Minister, so the Prime Minister's staff previously briefs the Prime Minister that the Chief Minister is coming. These are the problems in the province. So kindly ask the Chief Minister how the province is being run. So it is not just that how things are going and the other says, okay, it's all set, all perfect, all is okay. So these kind of things have now changed in Pakistan. So these are like different governments with different, and this is the data of different divisions like ministries, that how many complaints were lodged about a ministry, how much was resolved, and then there's a percentage, etc. So I'll just skip them because, and then this is the data of the super escalated complaints. We see that education department has the highest super escalated complaints. This means that education department is not taking interest. So the Chief Secretary will call Secretary Education and ask him, make him accountable. What is your problem? Why complaints are being escalated so much? Why the other people are working and you are not? And these are the citizen feedback. You can see people are very much alert about giving the feedback, etc. So these are some of the statistics. And now we come to the qualitative analysis. I have chosen two things to dilate upon. The first one was the renovation of the land records of computerization. Self-example is a bad example, but I have chosen my examples as a district administrator in Mardan. Mardan is a district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which has a population of 2.3 million. And there was a complaint, there was a land record computerization center, and people used to complain that we don't have facilities. We have to wait under sunshine and we have to wait for long time, queues. The woman used to complain that we don't have any separate corner for feeding our kids or something like that. So when these kind of, and I had no resources with me to resolve all these kind of complaints. But these kind of complaints were discussed at the level of the Chief Secretary, and the Chief Secretary issued some kinds of funds to me, and I had to renovate it. And the center which I renovated, or my team renovated actually, was just visited by the president of the World Bank when he was visiting Pakistan. And this was one of the initiatives which were shown by Pakistan, that the ease of doing business is getting better and better. And Pakistan has, from the previous year, Pakistan has jumped much higher in ease of doing business index. So one is that thing which I'll show you, a small video. The other is an anti-encroachment drive. So this is a soft component of the government. The other is a hard component of the government, where the government uses its muscle. It's a very interesting case study, I can say. A complaint was received back in 2017 perhaps, that 40 years ago, when I was a child, there's a canal canal patrol road we call it. It used to be double road, but now it is single due to encroachment. So what happened, that I asked my revenue staff, the land staff, to go and measure. And what they reported that there is no encroachment on state land. The road is actually just a single road and there is no double road. So I said, okay. So this, I resolved it that the complaint is baseless. This man, an old man obviously, if he's saying about 40 years, so he must be some 55, 60 years old guy. So what he did, he put the button unsatisfied. This complaint was picked up by the staff of the chief secretary. The chief secretary office called them and he said that when we were children, that was a double road. But now it's a single road, and the deputy commissioner says, so I received a call from the chief secretary's office that Mr. Deputy Commissioner, look into it personally, go to the spot personally, make measurements and submit the report. So when I looked into it personally, because the revenue field staff was it was all commercial, all were commercial buildings, plazas and multi-story buildings. Perhaps the local revenue staff, the street level bureaucrats, which we call, they were in connivance with them, or they managed the report. But now there was no option left for them to manipulate or for me to remain in my ease and remain in my comfort zone. I had to go, I visited, we had all that thing. And believe you me, it was a big encroachment. And then we removed that encroachment. We'll see a small clip of that as well. And this is not just one operation. These kinds of hundreds of operations have been done all across Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and all across Pakistan. So we'll see just these two small clips and then we'll end. So, I mean, this was basically, I'll just go on skipping them, it may be a bit long. But the previous thing was, this was basically the condition of the land computerization center. People used to come from far-flung areas. They used to start journey at 6 a.m., reach there, but there was no much better facilities. Were a very conventional kind of a center. There were not much facilities like that. But once we renovated it, upon the basis of a complaint, different kinds of complaints, then changed the policy of the government. Government issued resources. I was constrained. I was asked to conduct all kinds of renovations. So we made all kinds of renovations, and then people had a good thing. So you can see the proper sitting areas. We had separate areas for the ladies. There were dual screens and something like that. Some TV screens were also highlighted. And this was not just the case. Rather, the chief secretary of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa at that time, he himself came and appreciated this response. And again, this facility was visited by the president of the World Bank just 2 months back. Here I am briefing the chief secretary. And the other was, there will be a bit drama, kindly bear with me. So this is this anti-encroachment drive which I told you. So, so you can see the level of the structures which had been built on the government infrastructure with the connivance of local people. And you can see that it was like 24 meters was the thing. And we had to, do all these encroachments. And the officers from India and the Pakistan, they know that it is very difficult because generally the encroachment is a mafia kind of people. So you have to have that kind of thing. So since I was asked to go personally, so I had to remain there personally and I had to supervise this thing. Otherwise, generally DCs don't do that. And these are basically the scenes when we were assistant commissioners, young officers. We never saw our deputy commissioners in the field doing all these things. But thanks to this app, that we have to now go out. So, 273 structures were like, so, this is, there was a big drama. So, with no, there was a security. People are being arrested in the middle. You can see the police vans and all those things. There was a complete plan. You have to manage the traffic plan. You'll have to manage the electricity and all those things. So, ladies and gentlemen, this app, which was started by the chief secretary of one province, has been taken up by the Prime Minister now, and it is being supervised from the federation level, and it is now emerging. We have two benefits. On one side, it is emerging as a good governance thing. Governance issues are being fixed with the citizens at the center, not the officers at the center. The whole shift has occurred in the dynamics of public administration, where previously officers used to be calling the shots, but now the citizens are calling the shot. And on the other hand, there is a channelization of the energies of youngsters especially. For example, previously, when youngsters or the citizens used to see any bad thing, they used to upload it on social media and a cribbing used to start. That cribbing ultimately used to lead to frustration and depression. At times people used to see that what government is doing for us. We are living in a very bad thing or something like that. So now that social media thing is managed in a manner that people now upload those kind of clips or pictures or video or audio clips on this app, and they exactly know that we will be listened. The first and foremost problem in complaints management system all across the globe, I think, is that people don't have the certainty that their complaint will be listened and it will be properly resolved or at least responded back. But here there is a certainty of that. And as a last sentence, believe you me, as a district administrator, I know that the people who used to visit Deputy Commissioner's office for their multiple issues, that their number has decreased a lot. When I was an assistant commissioner, I was a new entrant in the government before launching of this app. I used to see the deputy commissioner always surrounded by different kinds of people with different kinds of papers in their hands and telling that, sir, my problem is this, my problem is this. And DC had no time. He just used to mark it to the subordinate officers, and after 2-3 hours, he had absolutely no idea how much complaints I have received, what orders I have written on them, and people used to roam from pillar to post to one department to the other department. But now people don't come, they don't bother. There is a joke in the streets of Pakistan that citizen portal Carlo, just do the citizen portal. So people say that if you have any problem, just do the citizen portal and rest things will be managed. So with this, thank you very much for your patient hearing. If you have any question, I'm all available. Okay.
I noticed in one of your slides about the distribution of the users between the different districts. How can you explain that in some districts the user amount is in a very high level, and in some districts it's very low? It's because there are less citizens? Or...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. The districts are not made on a uniform criteria of population. Some are very big districts. For example, Mardan was a district where these things were happening. So it has a population of 2.3 million. Peshawar is a district which has 4.5 million. Lahore is a district which has like 10 million, perhaps, more than 10 millions. And Karachi, this is the biggest city of Pakistan, which has, a huge amount of, like maybe 20 million or 25 million people. So, and on the other hand, there are districts who have 0.3 million population maybe. So it varies.
Thank you so much for the nice presentation.
Thank you.
I'm curious, let's just hear your personal position. What could be done differently or better in order to ensure good public service and good governance?
Well, I think, there can be multiple initiatives which can be taken simultaneously. And multiple steps are being taken from different government functionaries to improve governance and to improve the public sector administration. However, I feel that this one is more relevant, perhaps the most relevant, because of two factors. Number one, this is otherwise happening. Everyone has a mobile phone. Everyone has a camera in that mobile phone. Everyone takes pictures. So instead of, taking this thing or leaving this thing, going to an unnecessary frustration or dejection, let's channelize it. Let's face it. So I think this is. I also feel that. This is very good. This is very good. And I have seen the change, this pre-app change and the post-app scenario. There's a big difference. The deputy commissioners of pre-app era used to play golf, and they used to go to different different clubs to play tennis in the evening, something. But now you don't have the time. All the time you are seeing the dashboards, how many complaints are there, how many have been escalated, many are being super escalated. And after quarterly review of the chief secretary, believe you me, it was not a simple or a very cozy thing. The chief secretary used to grill the officers literally. And when your career progression is linked with this app, so if you do not listen to people, you will be removed from your post. And then, it is not just removing from the post. It is your honor which is at stake in front of your peers. And human history tells that we, the sapiens, we are more sensitive about our honor than even our life at times. So, the esteem and the prestige of officers used to be at stake if they don't listen to the complaints of the people. So that is why this is going on. Sir.
Sorry. So in many civil service systems, it's difficult to fire somebody, right? So in this case, there actually are cases where their complaint system leads to fire. Is this?
Firing is difficult. I understand that. I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah. But at first stage, they are issued a show cause.
Okay.
They are removed from their post. They are sent to the headquarters where there are much less responsibility. They can be even sent to the training institutes. And above all, the career. Yeah, I remember that. An important thing is that the career progression is there. Previously, what used to happen that in the performance evaluation reports, the reporting officer used to write about the intelligence, okay, etc., okay. But now there is a quantification of things. How many complaints were lodged to this office? How much has been resolved? How much have been taken care of properly? The officer is responding to public needs or not? So something like that. Yeah.
Right.
You told that related to the education sector, there were most complaints.
Yeah.
So what type of complaints those were, and led to the non-compliance of resolution of those complaints?
Two issues in the education sector which Pakistan generally face all across, in all the provinces. Number one, teacher absenteeism, the absence of teacher. Teacher has not come. So whenever a child comes back to school, from school to house, the parents ask, what happened to the school? Oh, teacher was not present. So they immediately do. So number one, the top level is this. And the other is the posting transfers of the teachers. And the third one is the lack of infrastructure, the lack of facilities. For example, playgrounds or something like that. So these are the basically three major factors of the education department. But this does not mean that these complaints should super escalate. The education department will have to respond back. Will have to tell the complainant that, okay, you are asking about the infrastructure issues, but currently we don't have money. Once we'll have the money, we'll have the infrastructure. And to further elaborate this point, the government's policies are now driven by these kind of things. For example, government had to allocate funds for renovation and of the land records office to make it more welcoming for the citizens. Likewise, if there are some schools or some colleges where there is a lack of infrastructure, so people are sending complaints. So what happens? Because nowadays, even we saw in these election campaigns, the previous government guys used to take pride in the election campaigns even. That, see, we saw that people are complaining about this issue. I was the minister, so I allocated funds. Are you happy now? So people used to say, yes, we are happy now. So these kind of things are, the ball is moving very fastly there with regard to this app. Thank you very much.